Okay. I think what I'm understanding, it's so many pressures in the world right now. Um, it's ridiculous. There's so many pressures to find something that you're good at and go full fledged in that. Find the right people to be around so that you can have support and encouragement. And man, it's so important to find out what you actually need and be okay if that doesn't look like anything outside of you. You know, I found myself in a period of time where I was seeking like a mentor or some type of leader or guidance or something like that. And as I'm like subconsciously looking around for that until before I realized that that's what I was doing, I realized I'm like, I don't really have anybody around me to lead by example or lead the way of the path that I'm trying to take for my life. And it just hit me one day, like, it might mean that it's me. That might sound like pretty basic or common sense, but I don't know why I felt like I needed to share. Like, somebody might be in this stage where it's like, is there any example? Like, you might see some online or something like that, but online is one thing. But if you're waiting on somebody online to show, to lead or guide or be that mentor, it's like, okay, if this person is still very much alive and active, you might be waiting on them to post again, or something you're looking forward. And now it's like you're pulling your own focus and vision and you're like tying it to another rather than claiming a vision for yourself, even if it's subject to change later down the line. And I don't know, I just felt the need to come on and just speak to that. Also, just a reminder for myself, like holding myself accountable to make sure that I'm not doing the same thing. So somebody might need to know that you are the leader that you're looking for. You are the mentor that you seek. And there's other people that are still looking for something that doesn't look like the norm. Like, the norm looks like you go to work every day and you struggle through it. You just keep pushing ahead, and you put money to the side, you focus on your 401k, retirement, and then you just work till you die. But there's a lot of people that don't resonate with that. And then there's some people that's like, well, I mean, I could go to business for myself, I'm not really sure what that looks like. And sometimes, that comes with overthinking, that comes with self-doubt, that comes with insecurity as far as like having some type of model or example of how to set it up or how to get started. And eventually it becomes to the point where nothing has happened in the last year or two or something like that. And man, it's like, create the model, like, be it. Sometimes though, it's like some things that you feel like are unrelated or not connected actually can be, or something unique that you can put together for yourself in some way, shape, or form. And then if it looks strange, like, you don't have to just be a college student to say, oh, I'm gonna go live with a friend or go live with a family member or something like that. Sometimes you just need that time to regroup. If you have a situation or you have a friend or a family member that's willing to kind of cover you in that season, doesn't mean that you're going to them for advice or you're going to them for guidance or something like that. Sometimes you just need a covering. You just need a safe space where it's like, and it might look strange. You got to be willing, I think, sometimes to, as part of being like the leader of your own life, it has to resonate with you, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it doesn't look like the norm or the standard. Like, if you have an opportunity to have the covering, just do it. Just do it. It might be something that you need in that experience. It might be in that area where you meet somebody where you're having just a basic conversation that might start off as small talk. and it becomes like some eye-opening experience, or you see something and it triggers an idea. Like, sometimes we're trying to focus on doing what we think is the right thing to do, but that may not be right. You may have to go stay with a friend if they open their home or place to you, in order for you to just, if that's the furthest you can get away. If you can't get a vacation, it might mean just going there for a few days or however long you all agree on, to just kind of take a moment to get clear. Because I think sometimes a lot of us push ahead and push forward, and in the process of that, I think that's sometimes how the vision gets lost, or how we lose track of our plan or what we set out to do initially. And sometimes you just need to regroup. I don't know why I feel this so strong. Like, you might have to do something that looks weird to everyone else, but it's the exact thing that you need, especially if you have it to do. Not all of us have the opportunity to go stay with a friend or a family member in order to reset ourselves, or to really connect and see, hey, there's something going on here. I just need a second to figure it out. Like, there is really nothing wrong with that. If you have it available, then utilize it. Like, people talk about using your resources. Just having some type of covering over you while you're figuring it out or getting clarity, like, that's a resource. It's not all just a financial resource to get things going. And the other thing that was coming up was burnout. I didn't realize how many people were experiencing burnout but may not know what that is or what it looks like. And they don't talk about the challenges of, you take this ambitious, driven person and they get to a point where nothing feels fulfilling or satisfying. Like, we're quick to call it depression, but sometimes it's not depression. Sometimes it's just, I've tried so many things that I thought that would have, if I wanted to do a side hustle. And so, using me for example, I had many side hustles throughout the years, or things where my goal was to create some things on the side where it's still kind of a bit of work, but I actually enjoy doing it. Or it started off as a hobby and I realized, hey, I could kind of get paid for this and doing that. And my goal was to not work the same amount, but on my full-time job, I can decrease the hours, and this will supplement in those decreasing hours, where it's like I'm doing something that I feel like I have to do, and something over here where it actually gives me like a little bit of a break from the mundane routine of every day-to-day life, and I'm still able to profit off of it to some degree. And then I got to a point where I realized, like, hey, this is not the goal that I had when I started this, of being able to decrease the work hours and do this a little bit more, not even just to make it a business, but just to have that type of balance. I noticed I wasn't hitting that goal. Like, I'm still working the same, if not more, because that side hustle, or those things that I did on the side, they were like, it will go through its seasons. And just getting familiar with, hey, you may not have clients for 2 to 3 months, or you have like your regulars and you realize you only have 3 regulars, and it's like, whoa. So there's other things that you might want to do. You're like, I have to increase my hours over here. And at one point I was feeling like, you get discouraged in that process, because you're like, hey, this didn't work out. So you think, let me try something else, let me try this, let me try that. And it then becomes like this cycle of like pushing ahead, but then you realize that the plan is gone, the goals are gone. It's just now it goes back to survival mode, when you were trying to come out of survival mode. And I think over time, like what I've seen and what I've kind of witnessed myself, not just with me, but other people that I've talked to, and it's like, over time, you start getting mentally exhausted. Like, you might have all of these ideas, but you might be still discouraged because the other ideas flopped on you, especially if you've invested thousands of dollars or something and you're like, hey, this is gonna work, and it doesn't. Or you just get this sense of, I just need to let this go. I think that's why some people stay in their careers longer than what they really want to, because they're like, I was in school for this amount of years. It's like, I can't imagine just letting that go to waste, especially if you still have debt that you're trying to pay off, and Maybe you make decent where you're like, I'm on a payment plan, I'm trying to pay this off. Or maybe you haven't started tackling the debt and you're like, if I can get situated, then maybe I can start pouring into there. And it just seems like what I'm learning is like those moments where you feel like you're going in a repetitive cycle or there's a pattern, it is time to take a break. Because pushing ahead is like you're going to get right back to feeling burnt out or mentally exhausted and trying to balance it all out. So it's like if you have a resource that will allow you a covering to take time for clarity, take advantage of it. Take advantage of it if it's there. Take the time that you need if you can. Like, many of us cannot, but if you can, even if it's just a few days, even if it's just a week or a couple of months, I think that is beneficial. You just have to, it's almost like, it's kind of like the video that I posted recently, like at the end I talked about when I heard you're not starting over, you're rebuilding. And you know, I wanted to, I'm trying to allow room for more meaning of that, because I feel like it's multi-dimensional, that one little quote or that one little statement that I got as like a download. And it's like the more I've been trying to sit with it and process it, I'm like, you're not starting over, you're rebuilding. Not only just because you're different, if you've been working on yourself, you know, getting to know yourself on another level, trying to process all that you've experienced and how it can make you better or how you can shift directions and things like that. But you're rebuilding. It's just now it's like trying to have more of a more solid foundation. Maybe you jumped into something because other people were doing it. Maybe you jumped into a career because of outside influences. And it's like, take the time to implement things that work for you. What values with different companies. Like, I've tried different jobs and I realized, hey, this type of job over here is a little bit too toxic for me. I can't really take that. So let me go over here. Or I've even switched like my shifts that I work to try to figure it out. Like, it is literally your life, and you have to sometimes step back from what you're used to doing. It's like it's almost like a point in life where life is almost trying to help you to see if we can figure out another way. This is how you're learning how to shift. You're learning how to pivot in different seasons. And being able to figure out how can you best enjoy it, or how can you best go through this which feels better for you, so it doesn't feel so strenuous, or you feel like you're giving so much of yourself but you're not really receiving much except a financial reward that is very fleeting. Like, money comes and goes, and you know, money's not meant to sit. So it's I was just talking to a group about this, and it's just amazing to me, like, how many people are actually going through this and trying to, you know, pivot this new season. It's like, it's giving you a minute to figure it out. Like, what do you not like about, or what's making you feel drained? What's making you feel burned out? What is the root cause? And like, take the time to figure that out, so that you can either unplug it or feel like how, or find a way that you can establish better guidelines for yourself, or how you want to show up or need to show up that feel better. So this one lady was talking, and she mentioned that, you know, let's say you have your own business, or, you know, even with work, and, you know, typically people say, I'll respond in 24 to 48 hours. And it's like, no, you might have to say 48 hours to 72 hours. Like, we want to force ourselves to do something that may not be what we need to be forcing ourselves to do. And little things like that. And over time, it becomes, you know, setting a guideline. It's like, hey, if you used to pick up a lot of hours at work, and they're so used to you doing it that maybe they start scheduling you, you might have to say, hey, I can't pick up right now. You know, speaking up for yourself and really stating it, even if it means that it comes with a decrease in finance, but it's going to help you, that, you know, having a positive mindset, or shifting the mindset, or shifting your perspective will help. Well, hey, if I'm not making as much because I'm not picking up as much, that means I probably need to work on my budget to figure out how can I make this work with what I have now. And some of us are working just enough to get by. And we might need to let a little wiggle room for like our higher power or to kind of work on our behalf. I've also heard many stories where people are like, I don't know how I got through that season in life because I didn't have any job, but stuff still was taken care of. Like, there's something else at play that I think sometimes we get so focused on controlling every aspect of our life. But what happens when life throws you a curveball and you're like, I don't know how to deal with this. I've never been here before. So figure out on an individual basis what season that you're in, how it's affecting you, and how you think you can improve it based off incorporating new values. Like, you know, it goes back to the other video I posted about, you know, the healing has happened. Now you have to rebuild. If you were too compromising on things and that was something you were healing yourself from, you know, we think the healing is just based off relationships, but it's healing in various aspects of our life. So what have you learned? Now go ahead and apply it. You're too compromising when it comes to, yeah, I'll pick up. You don't know how to say no, or you're so used to doing it that you don't realize until your body says, okay, you're getting sick a lot. Like, pay attention to those little markers that happen where it's like, this is not normally what's happening. And you want to try to catch it before it becomes too extreme or the worst case scenario. And this other lady made a good point about, she was like, you know, I noticed when I was getting burnt out that I started having way more intrusive thoughts. And she said that her therapist guided her through when those thoughts came, you know, if you had a what if that crossed your mind, it's like, okay, what if I lose this job after I've been here so long? You can come up with a plan for that. She's like, you don't need multiple plans because it's so much of life that we just don't know. And it's hard to even to figure out the words for this because there's so many different angles and so many different situations and aspects. But it's like, just what if those thoughts? Like, what if it happened? Well, we'll figure it out. You've been figuring out stuff before. And it's interesting because my daughters recently got shots. And they're much older now. And they were so freaked out. But I'm like, I don't remember y'all being like this when y'all were like 7, 8 years old. It seemed like you were like maybe a little nervous, but you went in and took the shot. They're literally like, Mom, how big is the needle, this and that. And then I started thinking like, wow, I've had a moment like that where it's like, why is it that I'm older now? Before I was like, I was going through life just, you know, I don't know, how do I put that? It's like life is just happening, you're just dealing with things as they come. And it's like the older you're getting, the more it's like you're putting more thought into things, you're thinking about all different angles. And it's like, what? I'm still like trying to figure that part out, but that hit home. I'm like, when did the kids, it's like your awareness is so increased that you're thinking of so much. I mean, that could come from a lack of focus, you know. That could come from burnout. That can come from pushing yourself so much to the point where you're like, what are we doing all of this for? Like, where are we going with all of this? Why am I working myself to the point of sickness? And many of us, is like, we have gotten that role of like, we're just the leader of our own life to the point where it's like, if we don't do it, it's not going to happen. And again, it goes back to, you know, life certain situations are presented where it's trying to show us something, or, you know, we have so much control that our higher power, or, you know, whatever it is that you believe, can't come in and intercede on our behalf, because it's like, if we don't do it, it's not going to happen. But yet we don't make ourselves breathe anymore. Like, we don't control our last breath or our first breath. Like, we don't control any of that. So it's like making sure that we stay in our proper places and understand, like, as much as we do and strive for, we're still very minuscule in the bigger scheme of things. So this would be for some of you that are too hard on yourself. I'm guilty of that. I'm really hard on myself. I think I've gotten a little bit better, but you know, you've been however many years old you are, and you want to reprogram some things that maybe at one point in time that was good to be, not really a hard worker, but like, or maybe an overachiever, I don't know, or just being so ambitious, or being so hard on yourself that maybe in this season it's requiring another aspect of you to come out and like have room to be a little bit. Like, maybe you don't need to be so hard on yourself right now because you've done it for the past 20 years. Maybe there's another element of you that wants to come out. Maybe your creative side is like, can I get a turn? Because you haven't utilized me in like years, and there's ideas or hobbies that I think would be good for us. Like, really connecting with yourself and seeing what you need right now, not just what you're used to or what you think you desire. Because you know, a lot of us think we want a lot of money, but it's not the money that we want. It's the freedom that comes with the money. Being able to decide how our day goes, rather than we have to go punch somebody's clock in order to do this or that. Or even if it's as simple as, hey, I want to take my family on a vacation and all expenses paid by me. You know, it could be something like that. Or it could be that you just want to buy yourself something without the worry about, oh, if I take from this, it's going to affect this or that. Like, that's what the money is about. It's not so much just the money itself. I'm sure there are people that have a love for money, but I think they said the love of money is the root of all evil. It's not what the money can provide, it's just the love of it, you know. That could sometimes be a hindrance or affect us in a negative way. So I don't know, maybe take time to figure out why you do what you do. And make sure that the person you are today, that why still is in alignment. Or maybe it's, you could see that maybe I've gotten too far off track and I've been pushing down a path that really wasn't part of what I initially wanted to do. Not even just career, but it could just be in your social environment. Like, I don't really drink all like that, but yet I hang around a bunch of people that drink. It's like, you may not know it. It just may be routine. So evaluate it. It's not big drastic changes that need to be made to create big changes in life. Sometimes it's just those little tweaks that we make, and over time it just frees us up more. Like, for example, I remember, I'm trying to think of what scenario, because this has happened a few times. I was putting in a resignation for this job one time, and I had went back and forth with it for a couple months, and I just started feeling like it was like the job literally was like almost pushing me out. As much as I tried to go in with a positive mindset, I'm like, okay, just don't hang around these people that gossip, or you know, maybe don't pick up 3 days this week, just pick up one. Little things that I felt, you know, or it'll be, make sure you stick to packing a lunch every day so you don't eat out so much. You know, that'll help you save money too. So it's little things that I tried to do. Or I'd play some uplifting, motivational music or speeches or something like that, just to help me get through. And it still wasn't working after 2 months of that. And I ended up putting my resignation letter in. My boss was like, are you really about to leave us because we don't have... She basically was saying that we were lacking staff. And it's like, the fact that you're such a team player that you help fill in the gaps for us, like, what are we gonna do if you're not here? And she was just like, but really, are you about to leave us? And I just turned around and looked at her, and I was like, yes. And she laughed, because she was like, I think it was one of those, like, you just trying to cope with what you're hearing. I never laughed, though. Because in my mind, I'm thinking about all the times where I was forced into an assignment that wasn't the original agreement because somebody caught an attitude, or not having my back when something went wrong and I got accused for things, and come to find out, the person that brought up the problem didn't even have all the facts to begin with to just come at me that way. And I didn't get any apologies about it. I'm thinking about all the things that, yeah, all you can see is that, hey, she steps up to the plate when we need her. But all the stuff that I dealt with, that was never, nobody saw all those things. I just kept pushing because I'm like, hey, it's work. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Until it started to affect me in a negative way. And that's just, I tried to do certain things that just wasn't working. And then when I got forced, and when I started getting forced assignments, when I would say no, I was like, no. That's me taking control. That's me taking charge of my life and my body. Like, I'm not going to keep doing this. I'll find something else. And I think that's how we have to be more of, because I do feel like who you are and what you tolerate, what you put up with, does define other experiences that happen in your life. And sometimes we go through the same situations to show us, like, hey, you have got to speak up. Like, how much pressure do you need before you just say no? Or how much pressure do you have to deal with? And I never really prided myself on being strong. It was one of those things, those character traits that kind of came about because of the experiences I kept going through. And when I realized, it's like, I remember I was asking God one day, like, why do I need all this strength? Like, why do I need it? And, in the course of me getting certain revelations, it was like, well, partially because you keep accepting it. You keep accepting situations that require you to be strong when you don't need to even tolerate it, when you know your strength already. So it's like I was accepting things because I knew I could handle it, rather than, but do I have to? Do I have to deal with this? I really don't. I wish I could say I said all that to say, because I feel like I've said a lot and it's kind of been everywhere, but it just hit me so strong to just like get this out. It's like, man, just hearing people talk and hearing how they push themselves, and most of the time they push themselves is because of outside influence. It's not so much what you need. So maybe I said all that to say, like, take a break to figure out, just check in. Do a self-check. Do a self-check. It might be weird at first. You might not, you might make a few tweaks and be like, that's all I needed. Or it could be like, yo, I've been ignoring this for a long time. And you gotta make some changes. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. This is part of life. But this is where you get to make it what you want it to be. Like, I think about people that's stuck in situations that feel hopeless. And they really could be in a situation where it's like the divine, like the Most High has control over that. Like, there's nothing you could do. Like, I wonder how they feel. Like, if they're going through some type of sickness or something, maybe they've changed their diet, maybe they've started working out, maybe they've been doing things to improve it, and it's like they keep getting more bad news. It's like, that is literally out of your control, out of your hands. I hear about stories, that people they never smoked a day in their life and now they have cancer. It's like, that's completely out of their hands, except that they try to improve whatever the doctor's guidance is, and then you pray. But I've also seen that some of the people that go through the worst things are some of the nicest people. Like, I've had patients that were basically dying of bone cancer, and they're in the most excruciating pain, and they were the most pleasant, the most understanding. Like, their value of life has changed. And it's like, I guess this is encouragement that you don't have to get to the end to start valuing your life, or to start valuing yourself, or your time, your energy, your own resources. And this just feels like a period of, like, everybody need to slow down for a second. Just slow down. Just slow down and check in. It doesn't make you weak. You've already had many situations to prove your resilience or your tenacity, your drive. That's hard. You already proved that to yourself. If you're still trying to prove it to other people, then that's the pattern right there. You need to stop. Like, there you go. You've already proven it numerous times. Like, especially if you've gone through back-to-back things in life where you're just like, yo, this hurts, and you somehow recovered. You know, give a little thanks to the Most High for that. You know, give yourself credit. Show a little gratitude to our Creator. Just slow down for a bit and make sure that, you know, this next season you're going into, that maybe you're being well equipped for where you're headed. Like, I'm sure it's I'm sure people feel like that even when they are in a great position in life, and it's just like, you know, when they start living comfortably and they're like, I could take a day to rest, or I can go on vacation. I'm sure everybody feels it in their own way. So maybe just take the time to get to know this new version of you, or to see where you are, to check in. See if any beliefs still are the same or if they've changed. You know, different viewpoints about life, about others. Maybe start sharing some of those experiences, or new perspectives. Maybe it's the encouragement somebody else needs, or the support that they need about stuff that they're not talking about. You know, you might be the outlet for someone else. So, I guess I said all that to say that I talk too much. And that I ramble. So I'm gonna leave it there, but maybe there's some insight for somebody that's been feeling like, man, this is a lot. I'm feeling kind of burnt out or feeling overwhelmed. It's like, let's break it down into the most simplest thing that we can. Start breaking it down. What exactly are you feeling overwhelmed by? What are you feeling burnt out by? What do you think caused it? When did it start? And just work your way backwards. And that might just be part of how you slow down. How can I implement some of these changes? How can I show my healing through my work, through my craft, through my interactions with other people, through the conversation that I have with myself? And just see what it shows you. Sometimes there's no changes. Sometimes it's just those were the answers that you were seeking, and there's clarity there. Maybe you do need to reroute or redirect your energy somewhere. Maybe you just need a break. So I'm gonna leave it there, guys. I'll catch you soon.